What if I told you that you could clean your home in just 5 minutes? Well, you can. Oh, suspenseful cliffhanger. Let's run the intro. Okay, so I know you might be thinking, clean my home in 5 minutes. Clearly you haven't seen what I'm dealing with. But the truth is, you just need 5 minutes, and I'm going to explain why. Okay, so when you're faced with a cleaning or decluttering task, this can be any task. For the sake of this portion of the video, let's look at my studio that we're in right now. It's currently a total mess over here. Most days I finish work, I'm exhausted, I look at this mess, and I kind of just want to like close the door, lock up, head home, and ignore it for another day. So let me tell you how 5 minutes can clean this space. We'll go ahead and set a 5-minute timer and get started while I explain it to you. Have you ever heard of the term task initiation? It's a foundational executive functioning skill, and it's most easily is defined as the ability to begin a project in a timely manner. There's a lot of reasons that we struggle to get started on something. When it comes to a cleaning space, it's usually because the task at hand seems way too big and thus seems very daunting. When most of us are faced with an unpleasant task like this, we tend to avoid it, right? For many days in a row, I finished my workday, looked at this mess and said, well, I'll do it tomorrow. But it's not because I'm a procrastinator, it's just because I'm in a habit of procrastinating. All habits are built on 3 things: the trigger, the routine, and the reward. If you have a habit of procrastination, your trigger for that is feeling overwhelmed or being faced with an unpleasant task, so the routine is avoidance, and the reward is temporary relief from this unpleasant task or feeling of stress. I get to close the door behind me and leave, right? I'm like, bye. So how do I break this habit? I can't change the trigger. In this case, the studio is not going to clean itself, unfortunately. The truth is, no matter what, we will always have unpleasant tasks in our life that we have to do, so I need to address the routine. This is where 5 minutes comes in. I'm going to change my routine from lock the door and leave to clean for 5 minutes before I leave. Why only 5 minutes? I'm so glad that you asked. Because if you're like me, the truth is you don't have a problem working, you have a problem avoiding work. It doesn't really matter how long I clean for, because studies have shown that 8 out of 10 times people will continue working once they start. Because the problem wasn't the task, it was the initiation of the task. We commit to 5 minutes because it's attainable. No matter how busy or tired we are, most of us can say, all right, I'll give it 5 minutes. And the truth is, for most of us, once we get started, we'll keep going. Once we're started, we tend to go further. And even if you don't keep going, 5 minutes is still going to make a big impact. Look at the difference in my studio in just 5 minutes. So yes, that 5 minutes helps us break out of the habit of procrastination and combat task initiation. But it does even more than that. So let's move on to my kitchen as another example. Let's say it's the end of a long day and your kitchen looks like this, which, if I'm going to be honest, this is reality of my home at 7:30 p.m. most nights, because I have a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 2-month-old. So this room endures a lot of mess between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. and I only have 2 hands, and at least one of them is pretty much always holding one of my children. Now, how do I feel when I look at my home when it looks like this? How would you feel when you look at your home when it looks like this? Probably defeated, right? Overwhelmed. And this is why the 5-minute trick works even more. Most of us know about the scientific research about the connection between mess and clutter and stress and anxiety. It's also connected to poor sleep, higher cortisol levels, and avoidance behaviors. I know personally, when I look at my space when it is cluttered and messy, it immediately makes me feel stressed and anxious, and I kind of feel a little bit like a failure. Looking at my space when it's messy, even though I know this is totally normal for what something's going to look like when you have 3 small children, it's like negative self-talk when I look at it. It says, you're messy, you're lazy. But if you take just 5 minutes to tackle something, to just tidy something, you immediately start to feel mentally better about yourself. You're like, all right, I can do this. Just 5 minutes of time in a space can be the difference between negative self-talk and a feeling of accomplishment and momentum. And that's actually a really great segue for me to tell you about the sponsor for today's video, which is BetterHelp, the world's largest therapy service that's 100% online. It can be a huge help if you're struggling with that feeling of overwhelm and stress about keeping up with the house and managing the day-to-day. I personally am all too familiar with that overwhelming feeling of trying to stay on top of it all, and that somewhat isolating feeling that it creates, but you're not alone. So to get started with BetterHelp, you ask a few questions so that they can match you with the right therapist from their network of over 30,000 licensed therapists. Then you can talk to a therapist however works for you, whether it's chat, text, phone, or video call. And I love this because you don't have to add it to your never-ending to-do list by trying to find time to get to the office and schedule childcare. You can do it all around your own time from the comfort of your home. To try it for yourself, get 10% off your first month by visiting betterhelp.com/butfirstcoffee. That's better, HELP, and I've also linked it in the description down below. Okay, so we've talked about how much a difference just 5 minutes can make. Not only can you actually get quite a bit accomplished in 5 minutes, but it breaks you out of task initiation struggles and gets your momentum going. And like I said, usually once we've started, we're more likely to go further. But now let's talk about the really big tasks, like the big tasks, the absolute disaster closets, the basement you've been avoiding for months, the guest bedroom that you've been piling random stuff in since Christmas and now all of a sudden you have guests coming over. Can 5 minutes help us here too? You guys, you know I'm gonna say yes. This video is literally called like Transform Your Home in 5 minutes or something like that. I don't know, I haven't decided on the title yet. You can also use 5 minutes for these big tasks. Okay, so let's go back to the studio. I have been avoiding this product closet for months, and can you really blame me? Look at it. I told myself I was gonna tackle it before I had my third baby. Spoiler alert, I'm not pregnant anymore, and I didn't tackle it. I got this studio a few months before I gave birth, and so I was really busy and just never had an organizational structure, and so stuff just piled up. Now, I could set a 5-minute alarm for this, but honestly, I don't even know where I'd start. What would I even do with 5 minutes, right? There's too much to even think about, and I'm sure you have spaces like this too, where you're like 5 minutes is not even going to make a dent. So before I set my alarm, I'm going to do a brain dump about it. I'm going to list out all the things I need to do to make this closet functional. I need to clear out the floor. I need to sort the random stuff into categories, specifically a lot of my Dollar Tree products. I need to create sections for each category. I need to purge things I don't use anymore. I need to order storage bins that properly will store this stuff, and I need to put the stuff into those storage bins. Now I've taken this huge task and I've broken it down into smaller chunks. So now I can set a 5-minute alarm and tackle just one of these chunks. So for the sake of this video, I used 3 5-minute chunks to tackle 3 of the things on my list to give you guys an idea of how this looks. So I sorted out things by category, I sectioned the closet into categories, and then I cleared out the floor. Now, it's still not beautiful. I still need to order the right storage totes, and I need to move the stuff into these better bins, and I've got to label those, but I've at least got a handle on this. And next time I have 5 minutes, I know what to do. I'll measure these shelves and I'll order totes. I think the reason 5 minutes works so well is because you're constantly kind of achieving little goals. In my studio, I was able to tidy the space. In my kitchen, I was able to get it sort of back to a place of not feeling overwhelmed. When you complete a task, it feels good. So 5 minutes can help you even with the really big tasks. All right, so there you have it. That is how you can clean your house in just 5 minutes at a time, whether it is just a messy kitchen from the end of the day, or it is that huge task that you have been avoiding for months and months and months. As always, thank you so much for stopping by and watching. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Remember to be kind to yourself and to others, and I will see you all in my next video.